Welcome back to New York City for live coverage of ESL One New York, live from Madison Square Garden Theatre. We are in map 3 of 3 between Cloud9 and EG, all tied up after a bit of a, well, a friend of mine calls it a bop, or a bash, or a destruction. What would you guys call it?
Stump is what we usually call this.
A ruffle stump.
Yeah, pretty much.
Talk us through it, Milk. Draft?
Yeah, I think it was just a pure and simple outdraft. Especially once that Slark pick came up. But I think the whole key of it all was the Phantom Assassin pick. It had no place in that draft. And especially when you then follow up with a Wraith King core. So you have a Phantom Assassin, you have a Wraith King core.
You're all right there?
I can't even say it. We had so much pizza in the
face. So bad, I can't even say it.
No, but yeah.
Lamps lost it.
And then the Slark, of course, a brilliant pick from Cloud9. And yeah.
The Slark pick, Darkseer pick. Darkseer was a big factor. Great play by Bunsen as well.
Yeah.
Great Darkseer pick, and the decision from Envy to get the dagger over the Midas. I know it's really hard not to get the Midas, but it actually won them the game.
Okay, we're going to get into the draft fairly shortly. I understand we're moments away from it. What sort of impact is it going to have, that last draft?
Probably less comfortable with just going what RTC seems comfortable with.
Well, the 4 bands are exactly the same as the first 2 maps.
I just hope that EG is not like, okay, we lost because they had Visage. But I know Visage was a big factor for the drafts, but Visage just did nothing. Honestly, they could have won that game 4 versus 5. Not that I actually played bad, it was just the Slark Panda Darkseer combination just destroying EG. So it's more about not to pick Trion that early, or, I mean, PA as you mentioned.
Do you think we'll see EG go? They go for the Brewmaster, which is really fine, I suppose. I was about to say, do you think they're going to go for what they prefer playing, seemingly, with their push-heavy strategies?
I think when they have the Brewmaster, it's definitely... It's one of the best heroes for EG, I think. It's usually played by Fear, I guess, now.
Yeah,
it used to be Mason, so now it's probably Fear playing it.
It's him.
But it's just, for the style of play they played in game number 1, I think this is the absolute best pick they can get in the first phase.
Fear did play it versus Alliance, the Panda on day 1.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think they'll get Batrider again here?
They might.
I mean, the thing is, it's not like he's not going to fit into a lineup. He's always a good hero. I just think the problem was that any time you're up against Darkseer, picking a melee carry, I don't get it. I really don't get it. It never seems to go well. It's so much harder to get what you need. And we saw that Wraith King and PA didn't do a damn thing in that game, as well Slark, like you guys were saying.
I do think that's just my opinion, but I personally think that Skeleton King is just one of the most useless heroes in the pool. As a carry, I think it's really, really bad. I mean,
I wish Ted was on camera right there.
Did you actually
say to punch you in the face?
Did you actually say that? It's just, as a carry, it brings nothing to the table. The ultimate is easy to play around. And it's actually funny because Cloud9 opened with what EG actually used game 1. That's how close those teams are when it comes to the draft.
And no one's surprised by the fact that they not only let Batrider go through to Cloud9, but also picked up a Nature's Prophet. I mean, I feel like Batrider is one of the heroes that Nature's Prophet have a hard time dealing with to begin with.
For sure. And Bone 7 is one of the best Batrider player right now. I feel like he invented the Mask of Madness Batrider.
Exactly.
He's really good with that hero. He's everywhere he needs to be.
I think the one thing that Evil Geniuses will probably look to do here again, I said in the last game, I think it was, or maybe it was game 1, but the Jakiro once again, but this time around I think they have a better lineup for it. I think the Yule Scepter is one of the best items in the game against Batrider, so you can basically let any of your cores get lassoed as long as you can protect him by Yuling the Batrider and then ice pathing him. He's just completely shut down, and you can even get an Orchid on the Prophet or whatever you want, or a Hex. There's many options for them in that regard. As far as Cloud9 goes, they have all possibilities right now with this opening. My main concern for them is, will they be able to deal with the Brewmaster? Whenever I see Brew and you have something like the lasso, it's all good, but you need to be able to kill him during those 2.5 seconds or whatever the lasso is. Yeah. They need either burst damage or a silence or a stun to follow through.
It's funny how Karas is completely ignored. I mean, it was picked by Cloud9 first game, right? When they had Dazzle and Karas, but it wasn't first pick. It was like 3rd or 4th pick, if I'm...
No, I think it was 2nd pick for them.
It was?
The last pick in the first phase.
All right, yeah. It was the last pick in the first phase. That's right, after the Panda. Well,
I think it's pretty good for them here, though.
I do agree. I think it's a good pick, but it feels like they don't really care about this Kairas. Like, both teams, they're like, that hero's a bit overrated.
Well, now with a Sand King ban from EG here. Pielight definitely set up a lot of kills in the last game. I'm not sure if this is... If they're thinking along the lines of what Secret tried to do against Vici, but where they didn't ban out the Sand King, maybe they're thinking about running an Enigma too and just going extremely greedy and not trading off the jungle.
And Enigma Prophet is a really, really good combo. You have so much pushing power. It's so hard to actually fight this kind of lineup with all the AoE damage.
This is the first time we see EG straying away from the plan of banning out Eternal Envy heroes. I think every ban they've done almost.
So they just let the Naga through. They banned the Naga every game, and they just let the Naga with the Batrider, which is not a good idea in my opinion. I would really like to see Cloud9 just grab that Naga Siren, either on the mid position or one position. There you go.
So you go with your like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I like it. It's a good pick. I think
it's very good here too.
Yeah.
Similar to the game where we had Vici Gaming versus Secret, where Secret just lost that game though. But Naga Siren, I feel like, is one of the best counter picks to Brewmaster in the game.
It's
whenever he splits, you just reset.
Yeah, buddy.
SF is such a good hero versus Naga. It's such a good hero versus Naga. On the mid lane, it's awesome. And later on in the game,
Against Bat though?
it might not be a versus Bat, but I think it's okay. I really like SF versus Naga in general. It's a hero I don't get it. I just don't understand why people don't draft SF versus Naga in general.
Especially with that cool new portrait. I love that.
Oh, especially with that. Period.
That makes all the difference. I like the fact that we have this nice mix of professional opinion about picks, and we deal with the cosmetics as well. I like the fact that we're an all-round team here.
It's because Flax is an artist.
And knowing Arteezy has like every single cosmetic in the game.
This is gonna be a very skilled 1 versus 1. It's very old school. The Puck versus the SF, Fata versus Arteezy. I'm gonna be watching that mid lane very closely. Me watching the game because it can go either way. The rune control is gonna be very important for both of them. If you get a haste on a DD rather on Puck or SF, an Invis. I mean, it's very, very. It can be a very even matchup.
And it's very easy for them, actually. One of the best things to gank Puck with, even though Shadow Fiend doesn't have a slow or a stun, just getting the silence from Skywrath and hitting 2 raises with that. The level 1 amplification on Ancient Seal is 30%, which means that effectively the Shadow raises will be dealing more than the damage it says on the skill. They'll be dealing more than 75, 150, 225, 300 or whatever. So on level 5, Shadow Fiend, Ancient Seal and 2 raises almost kills Puck. Just those 2 things combined.
That is true.
1 Arcane Bolt and you've got a kill.
It's also a Radiant SF, which means he can go really greedy. He can stack the camp behind him,
good
farm
point.
them.
Oh, hello.
Very good pick versus Naga. Very good pick versus the hero.
They have no solution to the Shadow Fiend with Repel on. They can't touch him.
Naga has to go diffusal.
Yeah, they need a diffusal blade. So if it's a core Naga, that's a possibility. But
So this is a universe, Nature's Prophet. We saw Sai playing it yesterday.
I think it's Universe Omni Knight.
What they should play right now is a Naga support and go for a bottom diffusal blade. I would go for it. I mean, go for a range carry that can actually get a diffusal, challenge them, pressure the SF, just roam. Naga Visage is insanely strong. It's a very strong support duo. Whenever you net someone, Riptide, like burst him down, he dies.
Yeah, and Batrider will beat the offlaner of EG.
I hope they don't, like how to say, stick to their plan, which is we wanted a Naga carry because EG had just drafted really well versus that. They need to adapt.
I think that's why teams like heroes like Naga, because they can pick a third and then go, I will switch.
Definitely.
What prevents you from going for the diffusal blade on the Naga Siren though?
I mean, it can be good, but I just think that you lack damage output, your laning presence. I feel like they can be so greedy, EG. They can be very greedy with that lineup.
When you're playing a support duo of Skywrath together with a hero that has no reliable slower stun in Omni Knight, there's like very poor kill potential in that duo. So
and
you can play an aggressive tri lane against
if they play a defensive lane, Cloud9, the Prophet is just gonna disrupt all their XP just by blocking the camps. Then you have a Visage, and whoever you want to pick that will have very, very poor XP and gold. So going aggressive can really favor them.
As a matter of fact, I think it's an offlane Omni Knight. That's what I saw the last time EG played it. And they're going to put Zai maybe on the laning Prophet that we saw yesterday. I'm curious to see when they pick up the heroes right now.
The only thing with EG is they don't have a single stun in the entire team.
They don't.
I hate that myself. I don't like to see it. And when you're trying to set up a Skywrath, the only thing they've got is the Sprout, really, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to head over to the commentators for Cloud9 versus EG. It's the final game of our second semi-final. Who's playing VG? Let's find out.
That's right. It all comes down to this game number 3 between Cloud9 and Evil Geniuses. I'm Capitalist. This, of course, is Merlini. Merlini, though, this game is looking pretty insane. The Omni Knight pickup. I told Toby we're going to be seeing at least 1 Omni Knight this whole entire tournament. We actually get 2. Last time, though, it failed pretty spectacularly. Do you think it's actually going to work this time around in the hands of Evil Geniuses?
I mean, EG pulled it off at TI.
That's true.
I have more faith in this one. And, of course, we get to see the Shadow Fiend. And this is really why RTZ is, I think, more of a fan favorite than a lot of the other mid players, is because he plays flashy ones like Shadow Fiend, and PBD drafts it for him. And that's how he really rose to fame, is just him dominating on these solo mids.
What do you think about this from the side of Cloud9, though? The Keeper of the Light, which is able to spam out all that mana for Eternal Envy to farm up even faster than normal on a Naga Siren in the 1 position, farming up the safe lane and being able to just spam out Riptides and farm all over his own map, get a faster Radiance. Do you think you actually go still for the traditional build on the Naga Siren, the Radiance into the Manta and Boots of Travel?
I think you do. I think it's just going to speed up his farm, and it's a very Alliance-esque kind of thing, running the Naga and the Keeper of the Light, and they have done it before, and it just, you don't have to go BOTs because you can just get recalled, so you don't, I mean, or if you do, you have even more mobility than before, so it'll just allow Eternal Envy to get his farm faster, and generally, you'll see hero pairings like Anti-Mage and Magnus, and Power will act like a Battle Fury, but this will just give him even more mobility just to allow him to farm up more. It's a kind of a unique thing, because there's not many spells that will allow an illusion-based hero to farm faster, unless you like stack, but actually like giving some more utility to the hero is kind of strange. So I think this is, it's a unique pick, it's a little strange, and it doesn't really solve the issue of the repelled Shadow Fiend.
It does also, with the Keeper of the Light pickup, they are able to perhaps turtle out a little bit longer thanks to that Luminate Blast, one of the best abilities to delay tower pushes. But do we actually want to be going into the late game here from the side of Cloud9? The Naga Siren is a great late game hero, but you're dealing with an SF as well as a Furion with an Omni Knight as backup, and that Omni Knight can be an amazing utility hero going into the late game.
Well, in a man fight, Shadow Fiend would probably win, but it rarely gets that as a Naga Siren. And looking at EG's lineup, they actually have very poor AoE and very poor skills to deal with Naga Illusion. Shadow Fiend mostly just single target, and yeah, Shadow Rays will destroy him early game, but late game, not so much, especially when she gets a Butterfly. And Panda, the Thunderclap, but his usefulness post 35 minutes is dependent on what he does early, and just still not that great at being able to slay those illusions.
You see Cloud9 trying to do everything they have in their power to keep Universe back outside of this lane and out of experience range, and Universe even gets a little bit low there as Cloud9 output a lot of right-click damage, and it looks like they've been pretty successful. I mean, normally Furion is one of those heroes that is always able to get off the pulls with the treants, but it seems like with the way they're positioning this, they're able to keep him out of range and slowing down his inevitable farm, which whether or not he chooses to stay in this lane, we'll have to see. But either way, experience is the most important thing, whether being in lane or going into the jungle for yourself. You need that high level of force of nature.
Yeah, and at least the Cloud9 supports can't play greedy and stack for the Naga Siren and get a lot of levels with Keeper Light. Keeper the Light is actually a very good jungler, at least once he gets level 2. And we all know how much they love to farm some of these supports.
Right, Cloud9, we've got an Aoi 2000 Visage once again, one of the renowned Visage players in the world. What do you think about this mid matchup, though? We're seeing Fata going up against RTZ, but it's not a strict 1 versus 1. It seems like PPD has been spending a lot of time roaming into this middle lane and even throwing out at the very beginning an early purification on one of the creeps. Do you think that RTZ is going to be able to win this matchup up against the puck with the extra help that he's receiving, the extra bit of heal to deal with the Fata's constant harassment?
Well, there's a couple of other factors into play outside of the strict 1v1, which I think is fairly even. I'd say 1 to 5, it's a slight favor for Puck, and after 5, it's slight favor for Shadow Fiend, but nothing more than 60-40. But the other factors that you need to consider is that Fata can't really dive Arteezy at any point because he has to worry about the Nature's Prophet, and he can't go in like that with his jaunt down. And secondly, Arteezy is on the Radiant side, so he has easier access to the Radiant Ancients, which is definitely possible for a hero like Shadow Fiend, and he can stack either of those other camps. This one's already stacked twice, and that's very common for supports or even Shadow Fiend himself to do that. So he is going to have an easier time than he would normally.
Feta is still playing this matchup very aggressively, as Feta is known to be one of the most aggressive mids in the game. In fact, this is going to be bad here. Zai is going to be able to lead with a slow and almost able to pop him real quickly. If Feta makes a quick little phase shift to jump away, Furia teleporting in, and they can actually finish him off, potentially heal going up, and Feta living with bottle hits will be able to get himself out, it seems. With those bottle hits is enough. Now they can actually turn this around. Universe is in some serious trouble. They can get the first blood here with the orb going out too. Maybe it's actually Pylite. Who's going to fall first here? Pie's away. Feta getting low. Zai looking for that last hit, and he gets it too. Zai will now fall to one last right click, turns around, gets it on Pylite. Double kill for Zai. Not only getting the first blood, but double triple for Cloud9, as Zai gets a lot of farm out of that one. And the overextension from Evil Geniuses, that bottle coming in was at the perfect time for Cloud9 though.
Oh, that turned a 3-on-1 into what, a 4-on-3 too. Cloud9 reacting very appropriately to that, and Fada just having good phase shifts there to keep him alive as long as he did. And Skywrath actually could have gone a 0-1-1 build, and it would just been a very clean and easy kill, but having to have that Arcane Bolt early to deal with the offlaner made that into a somewhat more difficult position.
Right. Wrap around once again. Evil Geniuses are going to go for the initiation. This time around, Zai definitely has the levels to control the puck. And a pick off for Evil Geniuses, getting some revenge, as even Universe comes in to be a part of that kill at the same time. Pylite was able to grab himself a bounty rune, but oh dear. Evil Geniuses, it's a trap. Pylite runs to the left. Zai is going to be able to body block him up and slow him down with the concussive shot, and a clap will be enough to finish him off. Evil Geniuses claim another.
It seems like EG is very well versed in how to deal with Cloud9 too. From the carry in the first game in the Spectre to the Naga Siren, they know exactly how to deal with it, and it's rare to see this sort of these sort of seemingly difficult carries just handled with such ease, as far as it seems.
Pi, just barely in range. Really good reading by Fear to see that Keeper of the Light was just barely in range of that clap, and they're able to pick him off once again. The Keeper of the Light is a really nice hero to go into the offlane, able to stop early pushes, and also usually has enough movement speed to stay ahead of those attempted ganks, but that concussive shot, man, is just such a long range and such a great slow for initiators, other heroes to follow up, like the Brewmaster.
Yeah, and Shadow Fiend is just getting so much out of this mid lane too, 26-9, and his weak point, his first 5 minutes, has already been handled with relative ease.
Ooh, man, look at this one. Bone 7. He's about to get a lot of gold for himself. A very, very large stack. 8 sticky napalm charges. That's going to be a quick little clear for him. Not enough to get the blink dagger, but certainly puts him very close. In the meantime, Eternal Levy is also farming up rather well, sitting at 42 and 8 right now with top CS on the board, though the rest of Evil Geniuses are not too far behind. We've got the Brewmasters sitting at 35 and 14, and Arteezy's mid SF doing quite well thanks to the extra rotations, with a CS score of 30 and 12, plus being a part of 3 different kills. Batrider, of course, feeds himself off to the neutrals as well. Was that actually intentional?
I think
it's got to be, right?
And
it's just normally when you're farming up the blink dagger, you hold on to that gold, so dying would actually give away a lot of unreliable.
Well, he thinks he needs a speed just because they're kind of pressed. They need EE to farm a lot, and it's going to take probably, 25-30 minutes. He's gone for a relatively unusual build with the Arcane Boots, which is only made possible by Keeper Light having the recall to aid in his mobility, so he can forego BOTs, but at the same time, he could have easily gone Soul Ring.
Bone 7 gets off the Firefly just in time, and that'll be able to allow him to get over the cliff and dodge the attempted rotation there from Arteezy, PPD, and Zai. They do eventually need to contend with this Naga Siren, who's still free farming up the top lane.
EG is right now. 3 of their heroes are over here, so they're forcing C9 into bad decisions where if they stack, they might actually give EG more gold instead of them. So now they're like, well, we can't really stack and farm just because they're completely invaded our jungle and won the mid lane. Fada gonna get an easy kill.
Yeah, the ultimate goes off. Feta does get silenced. This is gonna delay Zai's death. The orb is gonna be coming out eventually. Maybe the purification plus the repel, possibly enough to save Zai there. And sure enough, the squishy support hero is getting some good distance. And unfortunately, Aoi still outside. Oh, he barely gets it off there, but unfortunately, the charges tick down at the last second, and that nuke does minimal damage.
Man, PBD, right place at the right time. He's so good on these defensive support heroes, the Abaddon and the Tree that Jacob was talking about earlier, and on top of that, the Omni Knight. He's just always there with that extra little bit of so that they don't give away unnecessary deaths.
Yeah, Fear is actually sitting on a lot of gold right now. You're going to see something, I think, where the Brewmaster often does in the one position and the farming up the safe lane, where he's able to hold on to the amount of gold he has and potentially get that surprise Blink Dagger that catches off either the offlaner or potentially a rotation somewhere else.
And they're controlling all the runes too. RTZ getting top, and Pylite tried to contest one on bottom, but paid for his life, and he can't afford to do that again.
Bounty rune being picked up by RTZ, and he seems to be farming quite well thanks to the extra bit of neutral stacks that he can take advantage of. Every single time, though, they're doing a really great and Fada quick to be able to dodge that attempt to gank.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Batrider is actually falling pretty far behind in terms of levels now too. He's not even level 5 yet, whereas Universe, who had a little bit more of a difficult time getting zoned out on top, is already level 6 and has a death too. So they're just sapping all that experience with that Observer Ward and being in that area all the time. So EG, using stacks themselves, is just taking complete advantage of C9's passivity.
And that's why Bone 7 is going into the enemy jungle right now to try and clear through some camps over there. Zai is contesting him as best as he can and still possibly be able to sap some of that experience at the very least. And he's almost a level 6. Level 6 before the Batrider is pretty insane. Top lane, Evil Geniuses are sitting behind. Waiting for this push from Universe. Aoi is trying to pick up his level 6 right now, but not much they're going to be able to get out of it just yet.
And Pylite is not actually defending this tower on top, and that's generally Keeper Light's job to defend T1s, and this is the first one that's going to go down, but probably the most important one because it's the gate to your own jungle.
While they do get that tier 1 tower in the middle lane, Cloud9 attempted a gank on the mid SF, but he was holding on to a very, oh, Bone 7. He could be in some serious trouble right now. Bone 7 is getting low thanks to the force of nature, the extra bit of nuke damage. Zai, one last right click, and I think that does it. Bone 7 falls, and Zai will now pick up his level 6 with a killing spree 10 minutes in. A very farm support. Evil Geniuses got to be happy with how Zai has made the progression through this game, and is going to have such a large impact now in picking off the side of the Cloud9 heroes.
Aoi has hit level 6 finally too, 0-0-0, generally a little bit quiet in the early game for him, but I mean, what can a Visage really do to combat this?
Yeah, especially when Fear jumps in on him with the Blink Dagger. They attempted to teleport away. Purification, it is just enough burst damage with the last shot from Zai, able to get it. Mid lane, Veda. He has an orb up. He's going to try and pick off Universe here. He lands the orb. This is probably a kill, but he actually backs himself up for fear of any potential rotations. Bone 7 trying to get his way to the cliff. The stun goes out. No, it doesn't actually. And Bone 7 gets his way up and will now just abuse the cliffs as best as possible. But look at the way they're surrounding him. Cyclone goes out. Zai waiting for his opportunity, slows him down with the concussive shot. They will be able to finish off Bone 7 with those last couple of right clicks. The turnaround though, Fear going to be able to take down at least the familiar, but Zai's in some serious trouble. Purification goes off. Fada unable to finish him off in time, as 1 versus 3 is a bit too dangerous for him. Blast goes out, unable to clip those two heroes. Naga, Siren, Sleep, and a nice little reset there. They're going to actually go for it. Fear finds that one support pickup, but this should be a double as PPD completely out of mana. The silence goes out, Orb lands on PPD, and Zai, one last, oh my goodness, the illusion from Fada actually claims the kill. Double for Fada, as I think Zai would have actually gotten out otherwise. The ensnare was down from the Naga Siren. That was just that one last right click. That's all it took.
And it looks like RTC might be trying to end the game a little bit earlier than is typical for Shadow Fiends. He's going for a buckler build, might already be the mech coming out, so this is something that Mushi has done before, and with Omni Knight always running around and trying to save people, he's unable to pick one up himself. And Nature's Prophet is also opting for an Orchid to shut down the Naga Siren so that she can't sleep, as well as a Puck so he can't escape at all before a Yules, and those aren't going to come out for a very long time.
Oh man,
he doesn't have his blink yet.
And how do they deal with this heavy amount of sustain coming out from Evil Geniuses between the Purification, the Omni Knight Ultimate, the Guardian Angel, which is now up for PPD, and then the early mech like this? This is an incredible amount of sustain and pushing power that they can easily just bully out these tier 1 towers, I feel. Aoi's going to be caught here. They have the Furion teleporting in. Purification onto him will provide that extra bit. Oh my goodness, the neutral creeps. Saving Aoi in a way, being able to finish him off with the last hit of the blast. They're going to go back to this tier 1 tower where RTZ is currently threatening it as best as he can. Cloud9 will just spam out whatever they have to be able to slow down the push, but Evil Geniuses are going to make the wraparound. Jump in, clap, nice silence coming out from Veda. Beautiful reaction, but it's not enough to save Pi. Fear's going to catch up eventually. The clap should be enough to finish him off, and there it is. The kill goes out, the tier 1 tower falls, and Cloud9 just searching to buy more time for Eternal Envy to finish up that Radiance, and he's getting close, but it seems like Evil Geniuses are getting that much closer to ending the game. Before, nice dodge from the phase shift. Veda, he's been so clutch on his timings, whether it's the silence or the phase shift. I've been very impressed with how he's doing, even when being shut down so heavily by the Evil Geniuses rotations.
And yeah, you worried about the T1s being defended. I don't even know if they can defend T2s and soon to be T3s. I mean, Pilot Eye's doing his job as Keeper Light, and Fada is doing everything he can to slow down these pushes. But they haven't even realized the full potential of Omni Knight yet, and he hasn't been able to use GA yet. He hasn't needed to, and the Repel is not high enough level to make that big of a difference, but eventually it will be a big problem.
Yeah, eventually the Radiance will be coming up for Eternal Envy, but if Evil Geniuses can take all the tier 1s and tier 2s, they're in a fantastic position. Now, Evil Geniuses, well, that's going to be...
Look at Bone 7. This is where he's been forced to farm, because everywhere else on the map is just a war zone.
Mm-hmm. Eternal Envy, that was a little bit questionable. Evil Geniuses came in, their smoke popped, and they had to figure out, okay, somebody's in our jungle. They have to rotate in, see if they can find some sort of opening to find that pick off and then start pushing down these lanes. Zai runs right into 2. Silence goes off first onto Veda, and that could be big. Zai's going to live a bit longer thanks to lack of nukes. Veda gets hit by 1, throws in, ultimate going out. Oh, the nuke is actually coming in. Veda, he's got a bottle up to live through this one. He should be fine as the phase shift will dodge it. Stun onto Eternal Envy is going to hold him in place a little bit longer with the ultimate down. He's got no escape away from this one. Cyclone goes out, nuke going to come in, and they're just going to abandon Eternal Envy, it seems, as he has no out whatsoever. Last nuke will be able to finish him off, and Evil Geniuses 13-4, a very commanding lead 15 minutes into this game.
That's the worst thing that can happen to C9 right now. See Naga dying before her relic, and she has 3600 gold. If he had a relic, okay, it's not so bad, but that's the only thing that's going to save them. Maybe Bone 7 Blink Dagger might help them out, but it's all in an effort to get Naga her ratings, and if she doesn't get her ratings, this game is over.
It seems like we've just had a acceleration of commanding leads, where game 1, I would say, was a very even back and forth between the two sides, and then Cloud9 just dominated game number 1, or game number 2. Evil Geniuses striking back very hard here in game number 3 with a gigantic gold lead, almost a 10,000 gold lead so early on into the game, and a pretty decent experience lead as well. They do have to worry about the Naga Siren in like 20 minutes time, but at this rate, they've got more than enough room to be able to work their way through these towers and go for buildings.
I'm a little surprised they went back to a strategy that didn't work for them with the Spectre and a heavy farmer, and I liked how they picked up the Slark for Eternal Envy and just brought the fight to EG, because these two teams like to play a little bit similarly, and early aggression will stave off most of the farming and just render them useless, as PA was last game. And not that Naga's useless this game, but she is at least for, yeah, as you said, maybe like 10, 15 more minutes.
What do you think about the build here from RTZ? He went for the mech. Where do you go from here? BKB is a very common item pickup for a Shadow Fiend, but when you've got this repel plus the heal, owie, whoa, taking a lot of damage there. The nukes is going to be able to finish him off before the teleport goes, and Evil Geniuses find another pickoff.
I mean, to be honest, he could get a Lincoln Sphere, and he would just be invulnerable with the repel and just not be able to get lassoed at all. But, I mean, Batrider, is he really... He went for a BOTs, too, not even the Batrider or the Blink Dagger, so I don't know how he's going to be able to find that lasso. So, with that being picked up, he doesn't really need a Lincoln's. He can also just go with Desolator and just siege towers very easily.
Evil Geniuses able to defend the push in the bottom lane. Cloud9 are just trying to move Evil Geniuses around the map and try and draw attention away from their buildings. As they're farming up the enemy jungle, Pilot Eye is moving the Naga Siren around the map. You can see he's going to teleport to top, probably relocate this Naga Siren in. As you can see, there goes the relocate, or the pull already back. And meanwhile, the whole entire time, Roshan is being done by Evil Geniuses, and that's going to be a free pickup for them. Fade actually reveals it with the orb, but unable to make the jump in at the right time. So he disregards it, and Roshan cleaned up by Evil Geniuses. Oh, Zai actually drops the ultimate there, misses that one as Bone 7 makes a quick reaction back to the left side and able to dodge that attempted gank, but still, that's a solo Skywrath mage just ganking into the enemy jungle and has no fear whatsoever. I mean, this is one of the squishiest supports out there, and yet he's solo ganking the enemy jungle just because he's so far ahead.
I mean, he's actually really farmed too, getting a Yules very, very soon to deal with the Batrider, who has no chance of getting a BKB in a decent amount of time. And yeah, the problems keep mounting, and I am curious to see what Arteezy is going to go, because if it's it could be like a more farmy item, split pushy, or Manta, or just something to end the game right now.
Radiance now finished up by our Naga Siren. This is obviously big, but you still need a lot more time to be able to utilize that Radiance. It's a nice team fight item, but you're still incredibly squishy, and Evil Geniuses have more than enough nukes to wipe you out very early on into a team fight, which renders the Radiance useless. So the best thing to do right now is go for that split push, try and utilize that Radiance to push out of all the other lanes, go for the Boots of Travel plus the Manta builds, and then potentially, do you go for Diffusal after that, or do you think the tankiness of the Heart is required?
It's thinking way too far ahead.
Yeah,
for C9.
that's true.
For EG, though, this is where they faltered versus Alliance, and why the games were as good as they were, just because they actually failed to end the game when they had this sort of lead. So we'll see if EG, put to the test again, can yield a different result.
Fear making a jump away, trying to protect this tier 1 tower. It is in deny range if he wants to try for that, but he realized it's a bit too dangerous for him. The tier 1 tower going to be getting low at the same time. Bone7 trying to catch him out. Oh, the Dream Coil comes a second too late there from Veda, trying to hold Fear in. They'll go back to claiming this tower. Eternal Envy pops his ultimate, and they all teleport away and instantly gets to sleep. Onto Arteezy. They're going to set up for this one. Arteezy does have an Aegis, though. It's a dangerous fight, especially with Zai coming in from the bottom side, locking down Eternal Envy's Naga Siren and pops him real quickly. Arteezy and the rest of his guys are going to be now going on to the tier 2, and Cloud9 without the Radiance burn damage. How can they actually take this fight, especially up against a Shadow Fiend who just is seemingly unkillable thanks to that early mech that he picked up, and then the Aegis adding in that second life.
Yeah, they really don't. If they had a pipe right now, they could push high ground, but I don't actually think anyone else is getting that close to a pipe. I'm very surprised that Brewmaster went for an Assault Cuirass instead of, like, let's say a pipe Vlad's, which could lead them to end the game, or at least take a T3 by 25 minutes. Yeah. I don't think the AC is that useful here. There's minus armor, and there's the... Oh, Bone7 nearly escaping there. And there's, like, minus armor from Visage, but C9 is not in a position to go offensive on them at all, and the only way they're going to defend is if they just constantly spam them out with Puck Illusory Orbs as well as Keep It Alight Blast, and the counter to that is Pipe.
Yeah, and I love this pickup from Arteezy. It's the perfect mix for an agility hero, the offense and defense. You've now got the evasion of the butterfly available mixed in with a lot of right-click damage and attack speed with this butterfly pickup. And let's not forget the active that is also available. That flutter could make a big difference when you're in such a commanding lead. You're more willing to use that active to chase down heroes in team fights simply because you can't be targeted because you're so tanky, and you've also got that Aegis.
Yeah, and they can let the high ground siege begin very, very soon. No one's even mid. They're going to take some...
Ooh, there. Feta actually sees Zai. He's going to try and pop him. Force of Nature goes out. Feta will be forced back, as Zai is just tanky enough to live through that thanks to the strength treads that he swapped to, plus the double null talismans. He's got enough stats to live through the combination of the puck.
Play from Aoi. I mean,
yeah.
They just don't want to get pushed. They don't want to lose in 25 minutes, and they are very well known for doing cheeky plays like this, and Bone7 might be doing the same thing on the left side of the map.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is where the Boots of Travel really come into play. With the Keeper of the Light, they can constantly teleport into these familiars and be taking down creep waves on the enemy side of the base while also being able to get that recall back into their side thanks to the Keeper of the Light.
But now all the T2s are down. Aegis still up for a couple of minutes, actually only one more minute, and Arteezy will start the T3 siege. So this is a time of trial for both teams, and I don't really know how they're going to defend without the Batrider Blink, but actually he has 2,600 gold right now. There he goes.
Pylite dies, spamming out as much as he can, but Arteezy on the front lines. Oh, that one shot on Pylite dies. So much damage. Fear. Double clap slow. He's going to be able to pop the ultimate. Gets one, gets two. As Veda unable to make the leap to his orb, the damage just overwhelms them. And now they're just going to stall up the rest. Pylite die having some issues with the Storm Panda. Arteezy will go right back to right-clicking this tier 3 tower, and 22 minutes in, pushing down Raxus like this. Cloud9 have no responses whatsoever. They're giving it up. Eternal Envy, he's just farming up. He knows they can't take this fight. Not without the full...
They're going to keep going, though. They have to defend when Fodder revives. It's potentially the last fight, and I really don't know how they're going to kill Arteezy.
Yeah, I mean, Arteezy no longer has that Aegis, but they still have the maxed out Purification plus the GA, mech as well. That's so much extra sustain, and then they can't even right-click him as just that Butterfly is able to save him. Eternal Envy gets off the ultimate. Arteezy forces him back with an ultimate of his own. And the rest of Cloud9, unable to do much with that setup. Now going to jump in onto Fear, dragging him back into the enemy base. Veda gets off a nice little silence, but now he's been silenced up as well. He's trying to get away from this last nuke. Phase shift not in time. He gets taken down as Zai, well, he's going to be taking a lot of burst damage. He will fall. Gets off the ultimate, does a little bit of damage to RTZ on the way out, or on Turtle Envy rather. But 23 minutes in, 2-for-1 exchange in the favor of Cloud9, but obviously their situation is very sticky. They still lost the tier 3 tower, and RTZ obviously has enough that if he wants to, he can continue to push uphill.
Yeah, and Fear has farmed enough that he is a significant threat. Ideally, they would have killed the Shadow Fiend, but at least getting one of the two is pretty significant for them. But Roshan is going to respawn pretty soon, and that's before Omni Knight has any sort of mobility item. If he had like a Blink or a Force Staff, or if he were just positioned slightly closer, they could have helped out the Brewmaster a lot more. But they didn't actually expect them to jump the Brewmaster. He was sitting right behind RTZ.
Man, this puck is just having such a hard game, and I don't think Fada played this poorly at all. I mean, I think he had a couple of good maneuvers. He's just been completely shut down by the side of Evil Geniuses, identifying that he's going to be the big playmaker. He's going to be the one making a lot of room for this Naga Siren to be able to move around the map and find those pickoffs. So being able to shut him down so early, you've got a Skywrath Mage, already a good counter, but then you've got the Orchid picked up by the Furion, another great counter, and then he's going to pick up a full Scythe of Vice here in just a few minutes. Forget about it. Like, Fada is just completely locked out. He can maybe get a jump in, get off his combo, but from there, he's just one disable and he's done for.
I mean, and EE's farm is just nowhere near enough to deal with this. He's actually 4th in net worth right now, and he doesn't have any HP items, no drums, no manta, no heart, nothing of the sort, and Diffusal, it sounds nice on paper, but it's just not enough. Like, if they Diffusal the repel, then he just GAs immediately after, and they still can't kill him. So it's not a good enough solution.
JRTZ, completely fearless. I mean, he's got the repel behind him. He's got the GA as well. He can go ahead and sit in front of these tier 3 towers, farm up creep waves, and basically looking at Cloud9 and going, if you want to try and like backdoor creeps the way you're doing, I'll do something similar right in front of your base because you just cannot fight me. RTZ on the front lines with the repel. Eternal Envy starts moving forward. The ultimate going off, and they will be able to get it, but the lasso dragging him back all the way into the tier 4s with that ultimate still holding the rest of Evil Geniuses in place, but RTZ, he's taking no damage. Now the purification renders that Nas nuke from Visage useless as he's going to fall. Eternal Envy on his way out, chased away by the Fire Panda, but it looks like Evil Geniuses are on their way to the finals as they push in a second set of racks. Cloud9 with the buyback of the Keeper of the Light. Not enough to save the middle set of racks. Bone 7, oh, the Cyclone goes off, actually saving him from that ultimate being dropped by Zai. Bone 7 comes back to Earth, but Evil Genius is not done with this push just yet. They've lost nobody, and they don't plan to either. They're going to go for this tier 3 tower. Cloud9, where's the initiation? What can they really do? Without the Naga Siren ultimate, there's nothing there. Fada gets a nice jump in. 3-man Dream Coil, but is it really going to be enough? Bone 7 does what fire damage he can, but nobody gets low enough to finish off one hero. Cloud9 lose another. And now left with a 4 versus 5 situation with their last set of wrecks.
It's a very interesting take on Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend has two skills that just gives him tons and tons of damage with Necromastery and Presence of the Dark Lord, and even without any items, he's right-clicks inside. Everyone.
The silence goes down. He's got a buyback, and he's willing to use it too if they can catch out some extra kills. Fear's going to get taken down. Still holding on to that buyback, potentially looking for a surprise here. Zai burning from that Radiance. Eternal Envy gets Scythe of Vice up. Now the right clicks from Arteezy. Looking to be able to finish him off before the jump away. One last nuke. Arteezy just needs one right click. Eternal Envy, he's so damn fast, but finally the nuke comes in. Arteezy finishes him off, and is he even going to be punished for this one? PPD gets silenced. Lasso back, and can they kill the Juggernaut? They do. Arteezy to fall, but unfortunately, it's still at least a range rack's going to go down to the top lane. Universe trying to run himself out. Zai, meanwhile, finding pickoffs inside of the fountain, no problem. Ensnare goes out. Nice use of the Yule Scepter. Buys him a little bit more time, and that's all he's doing. Flame Break goes out. Can he actually get an additional kill? Goes in, wins the right click man fight up against a Bat Rider. Now Arteezy comes in. Eternal Envy delays the inevitable as GG is called, and Evil Geniuses will be the second team moving on to the finals.
Very well drafted by PPD, well played by Arteezy and everyone on EG. I mean, Zai, Fear, everyone. Amazing play.
Evil, you can hear the crowd from all the way back here, man. They are chanting USA. Evil Geniuses, the favorite here in New York City, are going to the finals to face up against VG Gaming.
Man, I expected this series to last like 4 or 5 hours.
I know, right? Cloud9 versus Evil Geniuses. This is a matchup we've seen time and time again. But Game 2 and Game 3, short and sweet. Dominating performances by both sides, but Evil Geniuses, thanks to that win in Game number 1, will be going on to the finals. So that means, guys, we're going to see what the analysts have to say about Evil Geniuses' performance and whether or not they're looking in good enough shape to take on VG Gaming.
Okay, well, EG reached their second consecutive ESL One final. Of course, they were in the final in Frankfurt, where they faced a Chinese team. It's a little bit of deja vu here in New York, as they do exactly the same thing again. Game 3, Malk, as much of a stomp the other way round as Game 2 was for Cloud9?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think EG really punished the fact that Cloud9 picked so greedily. They picked the Keep of the Light knowing that they had to go into late game with it. As Seb was saying earlier, they were so stuck in just going with a late game Siren that they realized the only way out was stalling with the Keep of the Light. And EG just capitalized on it and just played super aggressive in their jungle despite having an Omni Knight. This was a level 4 roaming Omni Knight.
Yeah. Trolls, what do you think of that?
First of all, there's a couple of things in this game that I absolutely loved. I loved Arteezy's build. Matt actually told me he's going to go mech butterfly. I guess he's done it before then? Or did you just call that out of nowhere? Because that would have been really sick, right? Yeah. I like this item build a lot, so that was cool. Overall, just EG's strategy. They knew exactly what they wanted. It was kind of similar to game number 1, where both teams actually, the drafts made sense for both teams, but EG just had the better plan, and they executed it really well. And I want to point out, too, it's another game with PPD on a defensive support. He's playing the Omni Knight this time. Omni Knight, Abaddon, Trian. Whenever he has these defensive supports and he follows around his cores and keeps them in good shape, that's the recipe to success for EG. I think VG Gaming has to keep this in mind for the final.
Okay.
There's one thing I want to mention just on that game 3. Zai, he destroyed Fala mid by his own. He solo killed the Naga. He solo killed the Batrider. He solo killed the Visage. He just roamed the whole map and destroyed everyone with the supporting Kairas. So awesome game from Zai.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. Zai, absolutely phenomenal. Everyone was cheering USA, but Zai was MVP of that game for me.
Definitely. Sweden.
Okay. All right. We're going to go to the main stage right now, where DJ Wheat has an interview for us with the winners.
Oh, is that us? Oh, we ready? Yeah. Hi, how about some applause for Evil Geniuses? They are going to be going up against VG in just a moment, but while we have the opportunity, we want to talk a little bit to PPD. Another great set of games. You guys have certainly not disappointed at all. Let's talk about game 1. Really a story of sort of this Witch Doctor Treant combo. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we've been doing Witch Doctor Tree for a while now, like probably a couple of months ago, even before TI, and the heroes are actually really good against Panda, I think. So the cast actually bounced between the individual Broodlings and the Treant roots them all, so it works pretty well.
And it did do exactly that. Worked out. That was a 41-minute win for you guys. In game 2, a 19-minute win on Cloud9. I mean, I think the simplest question is just where do you feel like this went wrong for you guys?
I think I probably dropped the ball drafting. I think we were really outdrafted, and there wasn't too much that we could do.
Well, the crowd seems to disagree a little bit. You had Bat, Jakiro, PA, Wraith King, and Treant. So if you could have changed something there, what do you think that would have been?
I probably would have drafted a little more catch and probably not Treant. That was probably not the best pick.
All right, game 3 then. You guys sort of turned things around. 28-minute win for you guys. There was this really early and chaotic fight where a whole lot of things happened. Courier almost went down, but then there was a lot of chase given. Can you break that down for us?
I mean, it was just as chaotic as it looked. Like, I'm not really exactly sure how it went down, but I used all my mana and then I just kind of ran out of there.
Good advice, I guess, if you're in that situation. Also had the 12-minute mech, and by 14 minutes, you had all of T1 down and the Tier 2 mid. At that point, were you feeling pretty confident that you were going to be moving to the finals?
Yeah, we were really confident. But once we saw that Bone 7 actually bought BOTs instead of Blink, we knew the game was over.
One final question. The finals is right around the corner. Big opportunity for you guys. What do you think about your opponents going into this one?
Last time we played Vici, we won at WEC, but then we lost to them, previously at TI. I think it'll be hopefully a little more even than our last meeting, and I think they'll be really good games.
All right, well, thank you very much, PBD. We appreciate it. Round of applause for Evil Geniuses. They're joining VG in the finals. It'll be in just a moment. And before we continue on, let's shoot it back to the T-Mobile expert desk.
Thank you very much, Marcus. I'm learning all about Dota from the players. They're giving me all these great pieces of advice. Earlier on, Ice Times 3 told me to feed the team. I take that on board fully, and now I'm getting even more advice. Just when you run out of mana, run away. That's brilliant. I like that a lot.
Depending on the hero. I mean, with a Nominate Knight that hasn't skilled DJ Nora and is only level 3 or 4, or was he even
you might
3 at
run
that
around.
time? You may as well just run.
Let's just keep it simple. Run out of mana, run away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's perfect, good meta. Feed, run away with no mana. I've got this game. There's no problem at all.
That's how the game works. OD is a first pick.
You are going to
The
get
ultimate.
flamed. That's the game. You are going to get flamed. I can tell you that already.
Yeah, well, it's no different to what happens right now. Moving on to more serious business. Admittedly, he did say he did screw up the draft in game 2. So, owns up to the mistakes and said he probably would have changed some stuff around. Good. I guess they learn from that, and we're all learning as we go through 6.82b. The players are learning as they go along as well. So all bodes well for the final, I guess. I mean, it's VG. You heard what he said. We played them before. We've beaten them before. It's only last weekend. So everything to play for both teams.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's going to be a very interesting match. I think both these teams have been very consistent in how they've been playing. Even when they've lost games, they've still had bright spots. I mean, EG probably more so than VG. In the Navi game that they did lose, it was kind of a stomp and loaded with errors, but I feel like EG has been a bit more consistent than VG, but then on the other hand, VG has been delivering some of the most impressive Dota today.
Yeah, definitely today. I mean, they look like a totally different team from yesterday, even though they were pretty good yesterday and much better today. So it's going to be a very interesting final. Pyrian, what are your thoughts on the final coming up?
I was really looking forward to EG Alliance. That was a matchup that I thought was going to be good. And when we got that yesterday, that was a really good series. I really hope this is going to be a great series. I think we've got two great teams. So EG against Vici, I think we've got the two best teams of the tournament here. Right. And the thing is, at least they know how each other are going to play. So I think the draft is going to be absolutely huge. I mean, they can't afford to get out-drafted or drop the ball again. Both teams have to draft perfectly.
Yeah, and best of 3, of course, for the final. So not really afford any mistakes here.
No, it's dropping a game to drafting mistakes here in the grand finals. I think against Cloud9, you could see today in the games EG won, they were the better team. The game they lost was mainly because of drafting, like PPD said, and Cloud9 just exploded completely. Yep. I think for this grand final, if you lose a game on draft, you'll lose the second game on being outplayed. It's going to be, I think these two teams are so close that if one game is just a flat-out loss from a draft perspective, you'll lose 2-1 on that, if you don't lose 2-0.
We're going to talk about that players in particular in a moment, but just a note for you guys at home, you can right now vote for your Pizza Hut MVP of ESL One New York by going to the Facebook link at the bottom of your screen, /ESL TV. You can go there right now and vote on the player that you want to win the MVP. There is a list of players, you can't just pick anyone, otherwise we'd all pick Milk. Obviously.
Yeah, I was about to say, is Mac in the list?
No.
I'm not voting. You got my vote.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're such a suck-up, Seb. What is this?
He's
Unbelievable.
not just a beautiful man, he's a beautiful human being.
Thank you.
So on the subject of MVP, I'm just going to throw it out there. What do you guys think?
My personal vote is PBD.
Okay.
Definitely.
Why?
It was close with FY after today's performance, but I just feel like PPD is the, he's the brains behind EG, and he's been delivering some solid performances.
Even with the screw-up with the draft?
Even with the screw-up. Yeah. I still feel like he's been the deciding factor.
Okay.
It's so important for a drafter to be able to say, I fucked up. I mean, that draft was just bad, and it won't happen again. Also for his players, they must have so much confidence in that guy. He just outpicks people, and then he's like, okay, guys, forget about it. That was my bad. Let's go for the next one. He picks an Omni Knight, and then they crush them in 20 minutes. Yeah. So that guy is really impressive.
Who's your MVP?
Loda
from yesterday's performance?
Oh, I mean, they could play 100 games after him. He's the MVP of that time.
What about you two?
For the whole tournament so
Yeah.
far, Loda's performance was standout.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Other people have had good performances and been good, but he was just another level. I mean, absolutely another level.
Was it because more? I don't take anything away from him, but was it more because his was such a standout? He was so much better than his team. I mean, he literally carried them through that
But
second
that's
game
what
almost
makes it a great
single-handedly.
performance,
Yeah,
I think, is that if he was able to drag those games out
yeah.
the way he did,
Alone. Like,
and captaining it as well, I mean, that's just, amazing.
What about you, Charles?
I think based on today, I would probably take FY. Because he really stepped up his performance. I said after yesterday, he played well, but he wasn't the FY that everyone looks up to and are like, this is one of the best support players in the world. And then today, when it's a really important match, he played insanely well.
So is he MVP for day 2 or MVP for the whole thing?
MVP for day 2, and because of that, so far I would say MVP for the whole thing because that was the important match. Right?
They're balancing and waiting stuff.
I'd like to mention something is that during TI, FY wasn't actually captaining a team. It was ROTK, right? And it's very difficult as a player to captain the team and focus on your own gameplay, especially when you're a support. You have to either you focus on the macro of the game, like how do we fight now? Do we initiate now? Do we go back? And then he can't actually think about his own positioning, at least not as much as he would like. So maybe that's why he still needs time to adapt. He's doing a lot of work for that team, I feel like.
I don't think FY is the sole captain of Vici.
He's at least drafting for them now, so maybe he took a bigger role than what he had before, I guess.
Makes it even more impressive. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to head back to the main stage right now where DJ Wheat is waiting for us, but we are just moments away from the grand